Charlotte Thompson Iserbyt, has written a book, and Farfignugan, I believe it's called The Deliberate Dumbing Down of America, and we think it's the most important publishing events in the annals or annals of American education in the last 100 years. And
what is an annal anyway?
I don't know. It's an annual. I don't know. It's like a channel of history
in the bowels of the engine.
That would be better. The most important publishing events in the bowels of American education in the last 100 years. She thinks, or she says in her book, that the government is actually making our kids stupider so they can control them, making them more susceptible to government control. I want to know what she thinks that the government is grooming these kids for. And we're going to call her. I believe it is at 7 o'clock Eastern Time. We're going to call Charlotte, and I have Iserbyt. Well, we're going to find out what her name is and what she knows and why we're getting dumber.
She'll probably know how to pronounce her last name. You could ask her.
She probably will.
I hope she's ready.
When you're old enough.
3D Research, good evening.
Hi there. Is this Charlotte Iserbyt?
Yes, it is. Hi.
Did I pronounce your name right?
Yes, you did. Good for you.
Wow. Do I get brownie points for that?
Yes, you do.
This is Tom from the Tom and Brian Show. How are you doing?
Fine, thank you, Tom. How are you?
Oh, not too bad. And my cohort over here is Brian, who will be asking you these serious questions, and I'm just going to be playing around. Is that okay?
Okay.
Say hello, Brian.
Hey, how you doing?
And we also have a band member from Sunshine Patrol. Have you ever heard of them?
No.
Yeah, they do Indo-European Kuwaiti tunes. And say hello, Greg.
Hello.
Hello.
So let's talk about your book, The Deliberate Dumbing Down of America.
Well, first of all, it's a big book.
699 pages.
I don't know where you're calling from. Where are you calling from?
We are in Florida, Southwest Florida.
Whatever city you're in, it's, I'm sure, as large as your telephone book. It's very big, so over 700 pages, and I give permission to people to copy anything that they want in that book. These are all documents, verbatim documents that I collected over a period of 30 years. I started collecting in the early 70s when at the local level, I was serving as a school board member, and we were in a district that was going through reform because, education always goes through reform.
Yes.
Restructuring, and I was appalled, alarmed. I'd been out of the country for 18 years and came back in, and I guess because of that, I was more shocked than the average American who'd, been living there for a good while. I was shocked with the change from academics to behavior modification. And I started collecting documents, and I was on a local school board. I went through training. A retired teacher called me when she realized that I was so upset. I was writing letters to the newspaper in my local community about what was going on in the schools. Right. And she said, let me pay for you to go for some training in how to become a change agent.
A change agent.
She said, she agreed with me 100%. She said, you're absolutely on target. They're changing our schools from academics, from scholarly pursuits, from real understanding of facts and figures and thinking, to values change, behavior modification.
Right. Now, is that like operant conditioning or a Pavlov's?
Well, yes, absolutely. And that is the most serious, I think. That's my
giving
personal
them like a piece
opinion
of
right
cheese
now.
To go the right way?
What's that?
Oh, it's kind of like giving them a reward for doing the thing that you want them to do? Is that
Absolutely.
What this is?
And the operant conditioning is B.F. Skinner, Professor Skinner, and Ivan Pavlov from Russia. They developed this, and then along came Professor Benjamin Bloom with the mastery learning and the direct instruction, which is the reading instruction that's going in now that they tell the parents it's phonics. Well, it may
they
be
get
phonics,
them hooked on
but
phonics.
It's dog training phonics, right?
Do you think Ebonics has anything to do with this?
What's that?
Do you think Ebonics has anything to do with the dumbing down of America?
Well, yes, I'm sure it does. That's one part of it, but it's just one part of it.
My parents won't let me use scissors.
What's that?
Oh, no, that was just an audio clip that we play.
That's great. I like it. But anyway, yes, the Ebonics. Well, people have to understand that if you want to put a country under a different system of government, especially a country like America, we've been accustomed to having a lot of freedom, having upward mobility, having people who have the right to choose their jobs in the future, change their jobs, quit, do whatever. If you want to change a country to have a planned economy where nobody can change their jobs unless they have permission from the school business partnership or whatever, you have to dumb them down. You have to dumb people down. You have to make sure they don't know what their form of government is or was. They don't know what their economic system is. You have to create moral chaos, which they've done, and that is basically what happened. I would say the
Who are they?
internationalists.
Tell me who they are.
The Carnegie Corporation, certainly. You could mention Rockefeller or Ford Foundation or Pew Foundation. These are all tax-exempt foundations that originally were set up to do good things for our country, but
have turned in evil.
Yes, and but I usually refer to the Carnegie Corporation because I can't go into detail on all of them, and I do believe that was the most important one as far as the restructuring going on in the American schools right now, whether it's in Florida or Maine or what. And in fact, the Carnegie Corporation in 1934 was very clear in a report that it had commissioned from the American Historical Association. In a report, stated that they would use the schools to change America from a free, individualistic economy to a planned, socialist, collectivist economy in the new order.
Wow.
Not new world order.
Let me jump in here.
Now, that's a direct quote. And from that time on, Carnegie went on its merry way, very deeply involved in the creation of the United Nations, deeply involved in the funding and creation of the national assessment that President George Bush is now mandating.
Wow, 1,000 points of light.
Well, and that we'll go into that too, but the test is very serious because 60% of the test items on the national assessment, which Carnegie originally funded in 1965, are attitudinal, politically correct questions. 60%.
Not questions that Bill Maher would ask.
Right. Yes, and that means that the curriculum. That means we have a national curriculum, a national politically correct curriculum. So we have a conservative Republican, very deeply involved in this Senate Bill 1 with Senator Ted Kennedy, imposing this on the American people. And it's shocking, but what it is it's the culmination of the Carnegie Corporation's plan in 1934, including their agreements with the Soviet Union, which Ronald Reagan also signed agreements with the Soviet Union to merge the two systems. We've come all the way through to the year 2002, and basically the system is in. I would say a communist system is in, with the exception of the economic end, which really is fascist.
Right. Can I stop you real quick?
Yep.
Greg actually had a question.
Actually, do you find that it's more the government, or is it more on the corporate side? I mean, the documentation, where does it come from?
It's from both. It comes from the government and it comes from the corporations. And most of the reports will have, say it's a report of a conference that was held in regard to the planning, they will have government and corporate people involved as speakers, as report writers, whatever. It's been all the way through, basically, certainly since 1980, it's been a public-private partnership.
So do you think that people that were born before 1980 are immune to this dumbing down? Like, I was born in 1970. Am I dumb?
I think that people that, let's see, I'm trying to think, Americans who got out of the public school system before 1970.
Oh, okay, so I am a part of this whole thing.
We could all be victims.
We are all victims of this, I think.
Charlotte, who wins overall in this? I mean, is it who's going to win? Who's the big player here? Is it the government that gets more control or?
Yes, well, yeah. I mean, it's 10% of our population worldwide. This is an international system, okay? They're putting in an international system. And I would say 10% maximum will win. It's the elite at the top. They're the internationalists. They're the corporate leaders. They're the people in the ivory towers. It's the same since the beginning of the world. They will benefit from this. They will have their little workers, and there will be no competition whatsoever, which makes it good for the corporations. They like that. Yeah. And I'm talking about the multinationals. I'm just talking about Little Main Street. Yeah. Little Main Street better get with it, because it's going to be out of business before it knows it if it doesn't start complaining.